Welcome back to a series of lectures on herbal medicine. As we all know, the primitive societies have been living as hunters, cave dwellers with no knowledge of what the wealth of plants was available for their proper usage. Ethically, it has been seen that people accidentally discovered different types of plants for different uses, and that discovery in turn resulted in not only collecting this data but also passing this from one generation to another, and that in turn became known as the ethnic folklore or the traditional knowledge. This traditional knowledge is considered to be one of the backbones of the modern knowledge about the herbal medicine. On this basis, not only have the modern systems of medicine evolved, but side by side it has also destroyed what the natural wealth of these herbs in the wild habitats of different parts of the world was. If we look at the Himalayas, one of the biodiversity hotspots, and compare the photographs taken about 10-20 years back with the photographs of the present era, we see that the dense habitats of different herbs, shrubs, bushes, trees are at present barren, and that is because of the overexploitation of whatever herbal sources we had naturally available. With every passing generation, the passing of the ethnic knowledge has also resulted in misguiding some of the youths as well as some of the elderly people of trying to harvest these plants at stage wherein they have not been able to produce any important propagule, so that in the next growing season a similar plant or a similar type of the plant wealth can be seen. This destruction has in turn caused tremendous damage not only to the habitat but also the medicinal plant wealth of the Northwest Himalayas as a whole, with a dominantly having negative effect on the Kashmir Himalayas. In today's lecture, we will try to assess what the potential of another important plant of the Kashmir Himalayas is, and that plant that we have selected today is Picorhiza kurua. This plant is popularly known as hellebore. In Hindi, it is referred to as kutki. In Punjabi, it is referred to as karu, and in Kashmiri, it is referred to as kod. This is a plant which is endemic to the Western Himalayas, and in its natural habitats, it is also showing preference to specific conditions wherein the habitat is in isolation and wherein it has not to face any competition either for space or for nutrients as well as sunny conditions. The knowledge about this plant is historically as old as the knowledge about all the herbal usage is, and traditionally, especially in the northwest Himalayan regions including Kashmir, Uttaranchal and Himachal, it is used ethically for antiperiodic purposes. It is consumed as a tonic. Its rhizomatous portion is used as a laxative. Its extract of the rhizomatous portion is used as a cathartic. Its rhizomatous extract is also used as a hepatoprotective and liver tonic, and sometimes it is also used as a medicine for animals, especially for treating the horses suffering from various diseases. This ethnic knowledge is even at present operative in almost all the tribal areas of all Northwest Himalayas. However, at present, a new concept about this plant has come into existence, and that is on the basis of the potential of the rhizome, on the basis of whatever it contains, and the potential of those chemicals on overcoming major ailments, which include, number one, as a cathartic, number two, for the treatment of fevers, as a dyspepsia, as a purgative, and sometimes also as an antipoison, especially for the scorpion stings. In the northern India, at present, the chemical analysis also revealed that it can be used as a cardiac tonic, it can be used for the treatment of jaundice, it can be used for treatment of viral fevers, and also for overcoming vitiligo. Now, once these reports have been made, people have tried to assess what exactly is located or found in the rhizomatous portions which can be having such important medicinal properties. And in the year 2001, for the first time, the CDRI, that is Central Drug Research Institute, Lucknow, has been able to find out the basic active principle concentration as well as the components in the rhizomatous portions of this Picorhiza curva as follows. It contains alkaloids cutkin, cuticoside, iridoid, glucoside, virinocoside, ninocoside, piscein, androsine and picoroside. These alkaloids, despite being used for various chemical treatments of different diseases, they are at present considered to be one of the major remedy for the diabetic ailments. Now, it has also been seen that this stage at which this rhizome is harvested is also responsible for not only the quality but also the quantity variability. In general, every plant every year is able to produce just one rhizome, and that rhizome in turn, if harvested at the end of the growing season, that is wherein the above ground portions have completely senescized, that means they have dried up, and we harvest the rhizome and subject it to immediate extraction of these active principles. These active principles will act as the major remedial components. However, if it is harvested in the green condition, that is where the above ground portions are still in the vegetative phase, at that stage not only the quantity but also the quality of this active principle has been seen much lower. On this basis, it has been seen that the distribution habitats of this plant, if assessed properly and the fundamental requirements of the habitat are assessed, they will in turn help those who want to domesticate them to see what conditions are suitable for not only domesticating but also trying to commercialize it. In general, it has been seen that in nature, the two means of propagation are operative in this plant. A is the vegetative means of propagation, wherein its rhizome at the end of every growing season accumulates large quantity of nutrients and energy, and in the next growing season it uses this energy to give rise to a new healthy plantlet, obviously revealing that the same rhizome is giving rise to a new healthy plant without helping us to use it as a major source of the medicine or the alkaloids that are medicinally useful. Second means of propagation that have been seen operative in natural habitats is the dispersal of the seeds, wherein they can give rise to a healthy seedling with a short span of time in the same growing season or sometimes even in the next growing season. However, under control conditions, if one wants to first domesticate it and after domestication try to commercialize it, he must assess what are the fundamental requirements of its plant in its natural habitats. These requirements should be assessed on the basis of what the habitat is like, what the habitat of the plant is like, and what sort of a competition this plant can face. And on this basis, one can first collect the plant's information and then collect the rhizomatous portion at the end of the growing season and try to domesticate it so that in the next growing season the newly or freshly formed rhizome is digged out, and in this case also one can use the means of vegetative propagation, wherein one must assess not only the size of the rhizome itself but also the size of the apical bud, so that that will in turn help us to split it longitudinally into smaller segments, and each segment in turn can give rise to a healthy plantlet in a short span of time. In general, once the rhizomatous portion has been identified, it is to be washed out so that whatever apical bud's position is, that is assessed properly. After washing, the apical bud as well as the part of rhizome is split up longitudinally, and depending upon the size of the rhizome in this plant, one can at best divide it into 4 segments and if not possible into 2 segments only. And these 2 segments in turn ought to be sown in a well monitored and controlled condition soil, and then regularly seen whether it is in need of any irrigation or any shady conditions, so that the new shoot is able to emerge from this bud that has been separated longitudinally. On an average, each cutting takes about a week's time to show first signs of sprouting of the vegetative bud, and that bud can give rise to a healthy plantlet in a span of a couple of months. However, if the condition of the habitat is not suitable, that is wherein it may be dry or it may be extremely exposed and facing hot sunny conditions, it has been seen that either the rhizomatous cutting may not survive, or even if it survives, it takes a much prolonged period for producing a healthy plantlet, which in turn can be used for the commercial extraction of whatever active principle it has. In general, once the cuttings have been transplanted and then after developing into healthy plantlets, one can also subject them to the transplantation under control conditions, either to those areas or habitats where the sunny conditions are partial during the day, and once the need arises, irrigation is regularly provided. In general, the water must be provided to it on an average on alternate basis, but if the conditions are too shady, in that case it should be provided at 3 or 4 day intervals. Now, once the plant adapts well, it has been seen that every plant is able to produce one single inflorescence at its apex, that in turn depicts that the plant has attained complete maturity, wherein its rhizome can be actually having whatever active principles it had. But at this stage, one must allow not only the flowers to mature, but also the seeds to mature, and these mature seeds should be harvested, and at that stage the senescence will start and the rhizome will attain a productive potential. That means, as compared to natural habitats, that is, replacement of one rhizome by one rhizome can be compensated under control conditions, wherein one rhizome can be used for the production of a minimum 2 or sometimes maximum 4 rhizomes through the vegetative cutting or the longitudinal splitting of the rhizome. The second important method that one can use is the use of the seeds of this plant. In general, the seeds, if harvested and sown immediately, that is, if we harvest the seeds in the month of September and try to sow them in the same season, it has been seen that they may initially show positive signs of germination as well as development of a seedling, yet because of the severe winter that has to come in, these seedlings tend to get killed in the chilly season. However, if after harvesting these seeds are stored under control condition where the temperature does not fall below 4 degrees Celsius and the humidity does not increase above 50%, these seeds are able to retain their viability till the next spring season. In the next spring season, again, if we want to sow them, one must try to assess what conditions are suitable for this plant. In natural habitats, self-dispersed seeds try to germinate on the surface of the soil, but in the control conditions, one can actually manipulate this, wherein they can take these seeds and try to sow them on the surface of moist soil. The reason for this is that in natural habitats, we have observed that these seeds show positive germination only on the surface of those soils which are moist, wherein the moisture is not evaporating immediately, so that the seedlings are easily attaining a productive status. Under control conditions, one, if following the same procedures, will see that every seedling, if sown on a moist habitat, will not only survive but ultimately attain a productive status. However, if one wants to improve not only the quantity but also the quality of the seedlings, in that case the methods of physical and chemical treatments has been seen to not only improve the quality but also quantity of the seeds that give rise to healthy seedlings. In this case, we have seen generally chilling treatment is not as suitable as we have seen in all the high altitude plants, but in this case we have observed that treatment with chemicals, especially gibberellic acid and thiourea, has important property to induce high percentage germination as well as the productive potential of the seedling, so that we are able to see that we can under controlled conditions commercialize seeds as a means of propagation. We have also seen that if after harvesting the seeds in the month of September or October and storing it properly under controlled conditions, if we sow it on the normal field conditions in the next growing season with soil which is rich in organic nutrients, and on the surface we have large quantity of ashes added, it has been seen that on that soil, not only do the seeds germinate positively, but the seedlings also are able to attain a productive status within a short span of time. That in turn reveals that under control conditions, the seedlings can also be raised, and these seedlings can within a span of about 6 to 9 months attain a productive status of producing a rhizome, which can be after harvesting used for extraction of the alkaloids. In general, we recommend that GA3 and thiourea should be used as the main chemical treatments, and the field condition sowing in moist soils with ashes on the surface should be followed, so that the seedlings not only attain positive status, but also are able to produce a productive rhizome. Further, once the seedlings attain a positive height in terms of what we have not normally seen in natural habitats, we must also try to monitor the seedlings till they attain a reproductive status, that is, wherein the flower formation or inflorescence formation begins. In this case, it has been seen that if we allow the seedling to remain in open conditions, it may not be able to enter the reproductive cycle. But if we transplant these seedlings into control conditions, that is, a pothouse or a hothouse, in that hothouse or pothouse, these seedlings can easily be able to attain a reproductive status and help or facilitate the formation of the flowers, which in turn will produce seeds also. Now, it has been seen that in this condition, one can actually be able to not only collect seeds as a means of propagation, but also harvest the rhizome as the major means of the commercial utilization of the plant. Further, if we want to improve the quality of the product, that is, the quality as well as quantity of the rhizomatous portion, we can also subject it to different treatments under control conditions, wherein we can grow it as a pot crop, that is, where we will create pots, and in these pots we can use 3 different types of soils. One, the loamy textured soil; second, the sandy loam textured soil; and third, sand, silt and loam textured soil. And once we fill these pots with these 3 types of soils, we will try to transplant the seedlings or vegetatively propagated individuals into these pots, and after they attain adaptability in these pots, we will subject them to chemical treatments, especially using NPK in varied combinations and also using organic nutrients. However, the quantity as well as the method of application of these organic and inorganic nutrients is to be regularized, wherein the above ground portions, especially the foliage, never comes in direct contact with either the organic nutrient or the chemical nutrient, because it has been seen that this organic or the chemical nutrient sometimes is resulting in the destruction of the foliar structures, which in turn is resulting in the destruction of the quality as well as the quantity of the rhizome that the normal seedling can produce. Once we sow it in these pots and subject it to various treatments, it has been seen that NPK and organic nutrient application will be responsible for improving the qualitative as well as quantitative traits of this plant, that is Picorhiza curva, under controlled conditions, wherein it has been seen to positively affect the ectoprincipal concentration, which normally is seen under natural habitats to be a maximum of 3%, that is, wherein all these alkaloids in combination only produce 3% concentration. But if subjected to various chemical treatments under controlled conditions, in those conditions it has been seen that this concentration can be improved from a minimum of 3% to a maximum of 4.7 to 4.9%. That is, in turn reflecting that not only is domestication suitable for commercialization, but domestication also is suitable for improving the quantity of the basic active principle, that is the alkaloids, in the plants under control conditions. On this basis, those who are interested in domesticating these plants must first assess what nutrient is suitable and what is the age of the plant at which one can use it, and what are the methods recommended for the usage of this chemical or physical nutrient or chemical or dried nutrients, so that this will not in any way negatively affect the survival pattern, quality as well as the quantity of the product. On this basis, we have attained a status wherein under controlled conditions in the botanical garden for the first time, especially in northern India, we have been able to domesticate this plant, that is Picorhiza curva, in those soils which are neither seen in the natural habitats nor does the plant in natural habitats try to invade those. That in turn reveals that if monitored and assessed on the basis of what the requirements of the plant are, we can not only domesticate it under varied conditions, but also after domestication try to modify its productive potential by using different soil and other physicochemical parameters, so that this plant is not only conserved but commercialized in a very short span of time. On this basis, one can see that a plant like Picorhiza curva or its related species which have habitat requirements not easily available at low altitudes, if assessed on the basis of what one can do, on the basis of what fulfillments one can actually manage, can not only first domesticate them, but also develop suitable methods and techniques for first domesticating them and then trying to develop a commercial strategy wherein the potential of the plant is not only maintained in its natural habitat, but also its quality as well as quantity is commercialized. On this basis, it has been seen that in the recent 5 to 10 years period, CDRI, that is Central Drug Research Institute, is regularly assessing what the parameters are suitable for commercialization as well as conservation of Picorhiza curva and related species, so that they can train the people for first assessing the requirements and then commercializing similar plants. We at the Department of Botany, University of Kashmir, in collaboration with State Medicinal Plants Board, have also tried to educate locals, especially those living in the vicinity of the high altitudes of the Kashmir Himalayas. We have tried to first educate them about what is the importance of natural populations and what are the suitable strategies for first assessing the requirements and then trying to domesticate plants like Picorhiza curva under controlled conditions, so that they will use natural resources as a means of revenue. Any of you who is at present watching this should first try to assess what the plant's potential is in the commercial market, and if he finds that the demands are high and the potential of the plant is also suitable, one can actually, in collaboration with a Department of Botany of Kashmir University or any other department having a fundamental concept of first domestication and then commercialization, one will be easily able to commercialize medicinal plant cultivation as a means of his income as well as a source of conserving whatever wealth we have. I hope that all of you who are interested in using medicinal plants as a means of revenue, they must, in collaboration with knowledgeable people, especially those who have a knowledge about medicinal plants' fundamental requirements, should try to use their recommendations as the means of domestication as well as commercialization. I hope you will follow the recommendations that I have made in assessing the habit and habitat requirements of the plant and then try to, on that basis, domesticate it first and subsequently try to commercialize it. I hope that in future you will try to strictly follow the instructions in assessing the fundamental requirements of preserving as well as commercializing the medicinal wealth of the Himalayas in particular and Kashmir Himalayas in general. I hope that in future also such concerns about the medicinal plant commercialization and conservation are highlighted, and that is also used properly to maintain this as a means of major revenue from our wild habitats. Thank you.